out to I had to get a shout out to the women, man. But as we transition, football is still king as of right now, man. It's still so much to talk about. Well, I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of capping. Like it is kind of quieting down, we're but things kind of find their way to us. Tet McMillan, for example, he was on an interview this past. It may have been like a week or so ago now, but he had a statement and he said that he doesn't watch film on his own. If he's not watching film with his position group, he's not watching film, on his own time. And that quote has sparked it sparked some debates. Some are are worried about, how much does he really care about getting better? How much does he really care about the game? Um, some have told us that, it doesn't really it isn't the end all be all that he watches film on a daily basis. Um, I'll say this: I don't know any great player that's been great without taking their craft serious on and off the field. Like I just don't know how you can be an elite player, how you can be an elite prospect if you don't take the time to watch a film. And I also don't understand why the hell would you say this out loud before your biggest job interview ever? This is you or change your life and your family's life, and this is what you decide to say, whether it's the truth or not. I just can't imagine that would be the best thing for me to be doing right before the NFL draft. But I want to hear y'all thoughts on
I
it.
think it's for me, man. I think it's just the boldness of these kids. You know, a lot of these kids are gonna say whatever. Hey, you got Shador out here saying he's not going to. He didn't go to the combine. He just flat out say, "Yeah, I ain't going to the combine." So, but I feel like a lot of these kids they have confidence in their game to say, "Yeah, I don't have to watch film." I don't know about if I'm accurate or right. I think Patrick Mahomes, not more of a film thing, but he didn't know how to read defenses until what, like his third or fourth season or something like that. So obviously that tells you he wasn't really watching film on defense and stuff, and he kind of just trusted his instincts with that. So I wouldn't. Again, it is kind of a bad look for somebody who's looking to go take that next level, and teams are going to look at that and like, okay, well, how do you prepare? You're going to have to prepare against these are different type of defenses, type of schemes. You know, you got to find a way to be, more productive and be more outlet to your players. But I mean, like I said, it's something you really don't do when you're trying to get your foot in the door. You know what I'm saying? You really don't kind of put that in the back, in the back burner or whatever. But again, it's just the confidence in a lot of these kids now, the athletes, man, because they just know they've been doing this for so long. And who knows? Yeah, he probably hasn't been doing it in college, maybe in high school, and he's already a decent player. So, I mean, I don't want to sit here and say it's not a big deal, but obviously it is a big deal because you playing for an organization. You got to be prepared in some way. And you saying that you don't do the number one preparation during the week that you're supposed to do. You say you're not doing it, so that could be some concern.
All right, I think I'm about to turn into the biggest hater in the world, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
so all right. What's what does Patrick Mahomes, Shador Sanders, and Tet McMillan all got in common here? Where all they came from?
Oh, they all
Yeah,
came from the Big 12.
these
They all
well.
came from the Big
Now,
12.
now, Patrick Mahomes, he's currently the greatest quarterback, and he's currently the greatest quarterback in our game right now, the game that we love, that we are fans of. Um, However, like you said, D, Patrick Mahomes had to lock in. He had to take a year. He had to sit back a year and learn under Alex Smith and get serious about his craft. Not saying that Shador or Tet can't end up like those or they're great players, but it's just the fact that is it confidence or is it lack of competition?
Mm.
Because I say this, and I say this full confidence, there is no competition defensive side in the Big 12. Period. You can't name me one good college team that has a great defense. Maybe BYU because they just joined. I think BYU actually plays pretty good defense, but it's a lack of defensive competitiveness in the Big 12. So I'm pretty sure he'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'm facing a guy that's on New Mexico. Okay, cool. I mean, I ain't worried about that. Oh, okay, I'm facing a guy that plays what UCF or something like that or whatever, or Texas Tech, who for sure don't have a great defense at all. I seen that in person in 2K. High power offense. They gonna keep a high power offense, Texas Tech. But I mean, come on, bro. I mean, if I'm waking, and it's not, and I'm not really knocking the Big 12 because if I go back to my athlete days and I get an offer from a Big 12 school, of course I'm gonna take it. Of course I'm gonna have a blast. Hell, I'm playing on the Division One level and I'm playing on a pretty good conference or whatever. But since that Texas and Oklahoma is out of the Big 12, it's a lack of competitiveness defensive side in the Big 12. So of course I see why Tet said that. Now, you can't name me. I wish this thing here. Imagine Mazio Bennett. We got a match up with Alabama in next week. He'd be like, I don't need to watch film on Alabama.
Now,
Do that if you want to.
now,
Do
you bring up a valid point that the Big 12 compared to I'd say the premier conferences in college football, there's definitely a difference because, like you said, you can't play in the SEC and say you don't watch film, and you for sure can't play in the Big 10 and say you don't watch film because there's NFL guys on every single roster that you will play, every week in those conferences. So I think you do bring up a valid point, and the draft numbers bear it out as well. The SEC is lapping everyone in terms of pure draft numbers of guys getting drafted from our schools, no matter where they played at. The Big Ten is right there behind it. The Big 12, we know when we get to the ACC and the Big 12, there's a gap between us and them when it comes down to the league readiness. Doesn't always determine who's going to be successful in the league because everybody some guys kind of fall by the wayside and because you play in a certain conference, that doesn't necessarily dictate whether you'll be successful. But history does say that if you play in the SEC and if you play in the Big Ten, you are more than likely going to have a successful NFL career. More times than not. So I mean, that is a real stance and that is a real issue. And for Tet McMillan, I think for a guy that you started to see more people starting to poke holes in him as a prospect now. As this process has gotten longer and more drawn out, you start to see people have their concerns. You start to see people have their concerns about how does he play against press. Even though some of the numbers kind of may some of the numbers say that he doesn't struggle against press, but then you put on the tape and you start seeing things where you're like, doesn't necessarily look the greatest. Um, it puts more of a spotlight on the things he doesn't do well. I think Ted does a lot of good things. I think obviously him as a red zone threat is probably his number one attribute. His speed after the catch. I think he's a lot faster when the ball is in his hands. He was similar to like a Keon Coleman last year, where like his 40 speed won't wow you, but I think his speed when the ball is in his hands does does make you'll be satisfied with it. But saying you don't watch tape, man, that does definitely put a damper on how I feel about you as a prospect. But it does lend to me saying that I don't believe any of the receivers in this class are elite blue chip prospects. And that's what I've been kind of waiting for everybody to that's the kind of the conclusion I've been waiting for everybody to get to anyway. But I think now with that being said, we're kind of here.
I
yeah,
kind of want
Ted.
to take a step back. Oh, sorry, my bad. You can go ahead. You can go ahead. I just wanted to take a little step back and say, even with that, what does this mean for the people, like, the accountability? Obviously, you're a grown man. You're supposed to hold yourself accountable. What about your coaches? Like, you've been there for so long, X amount of years, and it's like, all right, cool. No one's telling you to watch film. Is no one noticing that you're not watching film? You know what I'm saying? Like I say, his play has shown on the field. So obviously, you can see him and like, all right, you would never know he don't watch film. But at the same time, like, you saying that just kind of gives off like, oh, you better have your stuff together. You know what I'm saying? Especially that's what pretty much you telling GMs. You're telling like coaches, you better have your stuff together if you're not gonna watch film. Because these DBs in the NFL, man, these ain't like, rookie mode your first year, like playing Madden. They ain't what that is. You going there playing against some dogs, you feel what I'm saying? So I I don't know, man, but it just kind of, I don't know, bro. Like it's
But another thing
I
about
guess he's just trying to like just say something, bro.
look, but another thing about Ted though, and Steve Smith said it on his podcast was that he was around with a certain level of confidence coming into this draft process that was similar to how you thought like a guy like Malik Neighbors did last year. Like he wasn't gonna run his 40 at all initially. That was the word on the street. Word on the street that he wasn't gonna run a 40 at all because and his example was because Marvin Harrison Jr. did. Now I'm getting this from Steve Smith. This is all secondhand information, so don't quote me on any of this. But the issue is that you're not Marvin Harrison Jr. You're not a bona fide stud. In my mind, you wouldn't even be a first rounder in last year's class. You would have fell somewhere around where Xavier Worthy and XL went, and possibly fell into day two. So, like it speaks to what you said earlier, the level of confidence some of these kids have. I'm like, I think they think of themselves in a much greater light than where everybody else does. What you do have to have that type of confidence when you're going into a game like this. Like football is a very it's a hard game to play, and you do have to have a certain level of confidence and mental toughness in order to be able to play it. So a greater self image of oneself is kind of one of those things I think you have to have. But realistically, I don't know if these guys necessarily know where they're at on the totem pole. I don't think Tet McMillan is good enough to say that at this point. Like I just would have never spoken that out loud. And again, Ace, it speaks to the conference that you play in, the level of preparation it takes to play in said conference. And like you said, the accountability. When I think when you play in a conference like that and you play for coaches that coach at Arizona, we don't know Arizona to ever have a great program. Who can hold you accountable in that room? And I think
Right.
that's kind of where we've gotten to. Like who at Arizona has the cash to say, hey dog, lock in. Because anywhere else he would have gone, say in like the Big Ten, he couldn't have done that. You
He would
can't
have
do
got
that
killed.
at Ohio.
He would have got killed.
He would never see the field at Ohio State.
No.
No, he would have saw the field, and then he would have saw the ground, and probably not gotten back up.
You go to LSU. You think you can go to LSU and tell me you don't watch no tape? Oh, you gonna go to Bama? Oh, you don't watch no tape? Okay, for sure.
I also think this too. Going back to what you said earlier about high level talent, I don't even think the highest level of wide receiver who will be drafted will say anything like that. I think it's just more of just being aware of like some things you just can't speak out loud. Some things you shouldn't say out loud. You know what I'm saying? Let's just say this is Harrison. Was it Harrison Smith, Ohio State? I think I got the name right. Did I get the name right? I don't know. Anyway,
You talking about Marvin Harrison?
Marvin Harris.
no,
Uh,
the guy that got this year, the freshman.
oh, Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith. I'm mixing names up. I'm sorry. I'm totally on basketball right now. But anyway, Jeremiah Smith. Mind you, Jeremiah Smith is NFL ready. Mind you, we know this already. We know he's he's the elite receiver. 2 years down the line, he goes to the draft. I don't think he said something like that. He's the type of person that went because he knows like there's
You're a
certain
Florida
things,
boy.
you
You're a
know,
Florida boy. They're
yeah.
gonna work.
So you know, yeah, they're gonna work. And even still, a lot of these guys are media trained before they even get to that stage of their, career. A lot of these coaches, just seeing it firsthand, you have coaches who adapt these kids, whether you're going to the league or not, or whatever, even when they get interviewed, they prepare these kids to, all right, here's things that you should say, what you shouldn't say, things that will go against you, even if you decide to hit the portal or if you decide to do this, that, and the third, whoop, whoop. Again, it goes back to like what I said about Ted. You know what I'm saying? Who was holding him accountable when it comes to stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? Or did someone say this after the fact? Like, all right, cool. It's like, yo, I heard that you said you don't watch film. You know what I'm saying? That might impact your draft stock for you to be too honest. Sometimes you just can't be too honest. Sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. You know what I'm saying? I don't really know what was going through his head at the time. I don't really know. It was the Shador effect, where Shador can do what he want. We already know Shador decent. He good. But it's just like, you ain't Shador. You feel what I'm saying? You don't have that type of you don't have that type of resume for you to be coming out a lot of time. I was like, yeah, I don't watch no film. You know what I'm saying? Because as a corner now, I'm thinking like, yo, he don't know what I'm doing. So
In
he
his
better have he
defense,
better.
I would say in his defense, I don't think he was aware that he was recorded. 'Cause it looked like the person that was asking the question, it was kind of like snuck. It's like they kind of snuck the phone or something like that. Like like a body cam. It looked like almost kind of. It looked like he wasn't aware that he was recorded. I don't know.
I'm not giving him no out because he was definitely on the interview when he said it.
It was on the
It
interview.
was
I
just
thought
he
the
was on.
camera looked.
Yeah,
It looked.
oh
Oh,
no,
it looked
he
off.
was doing it over he was doing it on like a Zoom call type deal, like kind of like how we doing right now. He was just in the crib,
Oh,
like yeah, he was in a comfortable setting. It looked like hey, like it was like very informal, but like yeah, it was an interview, man. It was a straight up like just media interview. So like for him, like that's just a funny thing to say at this moment. I won't dig into it any further. I don't think that I do think that he'll get to the league. he'll obviously have to get with a coaching staff he will have to learn how to watch film. You won't survive in this league long if you can't. Um, and